Today's lesson, we are going to discuss about variation. Introduction to variation. So here now we can ask ourselves what is meant by the term variation. Variation refers to the differences in characteristics between members of the same species due to interaction between genetic constitution and the environment. Basically, when we talk about variation, you could find that the members of the same species, they have individual differences in terms of their characteristics, but still it depends on their genetic constitution they have, the traits, and the environment where each individual organism is also possessing in its particular environment. Variation is divided into two types. There is the continuous variation. There is the continuous variation. So let us start with the continuous variation. Continuous variation basically refers to the situation where there is no clear-cut difference among individuals. But again, this type of variation involves intermediate forms. So what does it mean? Here in a population, let us say consider the height of people. So you could have basically the big number of people, they could fall into intermediate forms. But still you could find some are tall, others are short. But again, you could find in every population, people of the same height, they are the ones who could be many when you compare with people who are tall and short. And again, that one goes with their genetic makeup and environment. Again, you have some examples of continuous variation. Height in animals, height in human beings. So some are tall, others are short, but a big number of people you could find once they have the same height. Weight, same, because when you stand on balance machine, you could find a big number of variation here. There's no clear-cut difference in terms of weight, linear dimension, shape, color of organism in population, yield of milk production in animals, yield of meat production in cattle, number of grains on maize, weight of fruits in plants, intelligence, ear lengths, ear lobe lengths, and foot lengths. So basically all these examples in every population they could show continuous variation, where you could find that there's no clear-cut difference among individuals within population. We have causes. We are moving to the causes of continuous variation. Here you can ask yourselves, what causes continuous variation in a population? The cause number one here, there's what we call combined effect of many genes, which forms polygenic system. So what does it mean? The individual effect of each of these genes would have no effect upon the phenotype. So if basically an individual organism is basically now exhibiting so many genes, they could reflect their effect upon the phenotype. Another cause here, let us talk about environmental factors. Environmental factors that influence the phenotype of an organism include the following: food, supply, affect the size of organism. You understand? Here you can compare like a person who grew up in a family where food was plenty. So you could find that now that person is healthy, that person is fat, that person looks more healthy. But again, when you look at another aspect, you could find that now there is no clear-cut difference there. Temperature affects appendages, availability of water, Radiation affects the skin color of animals. Chemicals such as cosmetic products, especially here, like lotions, mukologo, colorites. Those are dangerous cosmetic products because they have a negative effect on our skin. Soil texture, composition, edaphic factors, biotic factors, especially predators, parasites, and diseases. So all these environmental factors, they can also trigger continuous variation in a population. Another cause, there is crossing over of segments between homologous chromosomes during prophase 1 of meiosis. It is true. Whenever a homologous pair of chromosomes exchange their genetic makeup, definitely there is continuous variation there. The movement of chromatids during independent assortment of metaphase 1 is also another cause of continuous variation. Remember, in metaphase 1, that's where the homologous chromosomes move towards the equator of the spindle fibers. So, during the orientation of chromatids on the equator of spindle fibers, there is no clear order for the movement. Just it happens randomly. So that's why this also brings continuous variation. Random nature of fusion of male and female gametes. During the time of fertilization, male individual organisms tend to produce so many gametes. But when it comes to fertilization, fertilization has to be done randomly. You can't tell which sperm cell has fertilized an egg. No, fertilization is done randomly. So basically, that's why random nature of fusion of male gametes and female gametes also are regarded as a cause of continuous variation. Segregation of chromosomes at the time of gamete or spore formation, chance combination of chromosomes during fertilization. All these are basically the causes of continuous variation. Again, you have, like when you move from one population to another population, you can ask yourself, what are the basic features that could show you that now within this population there is a big continuous variation there? Once there is no distinct categories for organisms, that one can tell. They are present in other members of population in all grades between the two extremes. They are influenced by many genes, progenic system. They are influenced by environmental factors. They are measurable, quantitative, you understand. Intermediate forms exist. When presented graphically, continuous variation gives a smooth bell-shaped curve. Variation fluctuates around an average or mean of species. Again, direction of continuous variation is predictable. Continuous variation are formed due to change segregation of chromosome during gamete formation, crossing over, chance pairing during fertilization. So now we are moving to the graph which shows continuous variation. So you could find a big number of people, they fall in the middle, but others, they are at the extreme end, whether some are tall, others are short, but now the intermediate forms exist in the middle of the curve. So this curve is also called a Gaussian curve, a bell-shaped graph known as normal distribution curve, which represent continuous variation. The next type of variation, from the beginning you have heard that we have a continuous variation and discontinuous variation. So let us take our time and understand what's the difference between these two types of variation. Discontinuous variation is a type of variation that shows sharp, clear-cut differences among individuals of species. With no intermediate forms, individuals fall into a number of distinct categories. This is based on the features that cannot be measured across a complete range. A person either has characteristics or not. There is no intermediate conditions. So now we have some examples. Take an example, ability to roll the tongue. One is either tongue roller or non-tongue roller. Fingerprints, sex. One is either male, another one is a female. Take a rule or no ABO system blood group. So you could find where one can only have blood group A, another one blood group B, another one blood group AB, another one blood group O. So which means here in discontinuous variation, there is a clear cut differences among individuals within the population. So basically that is it. So there are so many examples of discontinuous variation, as you can check from down the slide here. Seed shape in peas, eye color in Drosophila flies, hemophilia, color blindness, sickle cell anemia, hemoglobin. Basically, sickle cell anemia goes with hemoglobin. So whenever the number of red blood cell count is less, it shows the concentration of hemoglobin red blood cells contains. So you end up having sickle cell anemia. Projectile, in the population we have people, some they have extra fingers, extra toes. There's also this disease which is called the cystic fibrosis. So all these are various examples of discontinuous variation.